it's Tiffany Lorraine Galloway, certified high performance coach, host of the Resilient Mother podcast. We have another exciting episode for you in April on the subject of having an I can do attitude. And we're going to give you strategies and ideas how you can do that as a mother, as an individual, for your families, and for your children. And today I have another Tiffany on the podcast. It is going to turn into the Resilient Mother Tiffany podcast. If you want to be a guest, please let me know. Join the crowd. Thank you so much for being here, Tiffany. Please tell us more about you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. My name is Tiffany Domokos. I'm the founder and owner of Holy Living Coaching and Consulting. I'm a change management strategist and a licensed professional counselor. I have a variety of clients, but I really focus on parent coaching, teaching specifically mamas about how to recognize their triggers in motherhood, how to manage those, and how to increase their joy in their journey. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. So to start out, what does resilience mean to you?
Yeah, resilience is, for me, really indicates an ability to tolerate sort of negative or stressful experiences. And for me, the way I explain it to clients is we all have kind of a window of tolerance of what we can handle in any given day, week, month, year. And that opens and closes as positive things kind of fill our cup, or as it is drained through negative experiences or stress, or navigating new skills or new areas that we're having to deal with on a regular basis.
What are some tools and strategies that you give people to navigate those things?
So I like to work in the body. I have a deep belief that our bodies are really, really wise and tell us a lot about what we need and where we're at. And that as moms, a lot of times we ignore a lot of what happens in our body because we have to take care of everyone around us. We have to take care of our kids and our family. And there's so much happening that a lot of times it's easy to ignore our bodies. So I help people kind of get in tune with what their body is saying. Where does your emotion live? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? What are the messages that it is kind of feeding into your brain and your mind and your heart? And then what are how are those behaviors coming out? So if we look from the bottom up, from how the body is showing up to then what are the behaviors that you're wanting to change? We start with the body. We start with attending to what is going on in the body and paying attention to that and hopefully releasing that. So sometimes that looks like, I teach people EFT tapping. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I love it.
Yep. Yeah. So EFT tapping is a big one. But it's different for everybody. A lot of people don't like the tapping. They don't like, touching their face or that sensation of tapping they don't enjoy. So movement, getting into nature, literally like putting your feet in grass can help the nervous system a lot. So yeah, it's really personalized, helping moms really get to know themselves again after the journey of motherhood has started. I work with a lot of moms that are in the early part of their journey and still kind of getting to know themselves as a new mom, or even as a second or third time mom, with multiple kids. So yeah, very, very personalized, but that's kind of where we start.
I think it's so important what you talked about because the body doesn't lie. If there's something going on somewhere, there's either something unresolved, something that's been held on to, there's something that needs to be addressed.
That's right.
And that inner work and that in-tuneness with our body helps us to show up the best way that we can for our kids. As we discussed in our last episode, we actually brought that up quite a bit. But I love this shift of like body awareness because I think it's easy with all the changes that we have as a mother, as a woman with our bodies to like kind of check out on that. And we need to take care of ourselves, but we don't need to do comparison about where somebody else is at, or we need to look a certain way or a certain shape. We just need to honor the truth of what makes our body feel good and well. So I love that you gave a variety of options because what works for you may not work for somebody else. Even what works for your kid might look different than what works for you. So you can't put on them this is going to make your body feel good. Well, they may have a different body shape than you do as they get older, or they just might have a different tendencies toward a different kind of movement or a different kind of release. And like the tapping, I like the tapping. I like all of them. I like anything that I can get my hands on as a tool. But the kids, for example, one's found drawing, one's found music, one's found movement, one's they found their own things. And I just honor that when that shows up. And I'm like, good, they are learning a positive outlet. I need to encourage this as they go. And I want to shift the conversation with that too, giving them an I can do attitude. So one of my daughters, for example, when she first showed interest in paper and pencil, I did not give rules. I did not discourage, other than drawing on the walls. I just gave the materials and walked away. I did not criticize. I did not guide. And it turned out to be one of the best things I could have done for her, because her preschool, when she was 3 or 4, she was drawing tiny, intricate little designs. They're like, we've never seen a kid do this. Well, she was never discouraged from exploring the ability to do so. And so if we can get out of the way, I think sometimes it's important to give them that I can do attitude. Or I have a daughter who struggles a little bit with, if she can't get it right the first time, she gets discouraged. And so teaching her that, some things, it doesn't mean you can't be good at it. And it doesn't mean it's not your thing if it doesn't click the first time. And our bodies too, we can change them. We can get them to have a skill set. I was a gymnast later in my life. I started at 8 years old, which usually is not the thing, but I was able to develop the skills within a year. It was a lot of work to get caught up, but it is possible. So how do we have that dialogue, not with ourselves as an example, because we have to be the example of it. Totally. Then how do we teach our kids those things?
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of mantras. I think that how we talk to ourselves is how we talk to our kids. And so I have some folks that I'm working with where we're really looking at, like, what do you believe about yourself? What do you believe about your kids and what they can and can't do, and what you can or can't do? So some people come to me and say, I can't change. This is how I was raised. This is what I believe, this will never change. And that's just not what we see in the research. We see the ability to change literally until someone is like in their 90s. So even old age is not an excuse for not changing and not learning something new. And so, so having mantras where you can come back to, when something is hard and you want to give up, what do you believe about your ability to work hard and learn something new? So in our family, we have a mantra of hard things make us happy. So when we do something hard, we know that there's good on the other side, even if it's just a feeling of being proud that I worked really hard and did this. And maybe I didn't get to where I wanted to, but I can be proud that I worked really hard. And that builds resilience in our kids. That builds that can-do attitude that literally, if they put in the work, that's what I'm proud about, right? I'm proud about the work. I don't care if you won the game. I don't care if you learned the swimming skill that you're supposed to be learning, but you worked really hard and you gave it what you had for today. And that's all we can ask of you.
And I think what you're getting at is like core values. We have core values as an individual. And if you don't know what those are, you need to find them for yourself and define them, because that's going to define your identity, your motivation, your why, the things that will keep you going and keep you motivated. But you can do those same things within your family. So you can sit down as a family and you can create a family mission statement or a phrase, decide what your core values are as a family. And that's how you build these things like these mantras.
That's right.
It also helps you make decisions better as a family and as an individual, because you can go back and go, does this align with my core values and my goals? And that's how we measure how we're going. That way we're not measuring ourselves by something out in the world or by comparison to another family. We're measuring it by each individual being a little better every day, or a family being a little better every day. And I think that's where the power lies, because we have a world that wants to tell us how to be, what we need, who we want, who we should be like. And that defeats the I can do attitude, because comparison is the thief of joy and it's discouraging. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think that it also goes back to what it made me think of as you were talking was our beliefs about making mistakes. I think there's a lot of pressure on parents, but especially on moms to get it right. Right? If you don't get it right, you're going to screw up your kid. If you don't get it right, your kid's not going to be successful, or they're not going to, get the college scholarship or whatever. So what do you believe about making mistakes? What do we believe about trying again? About what does the learning curve look like for new skills? Because we're all doing this for the first time, right? None of us have been first time moms before. None of us have had a 5-year-old before, right? So when you're doing something new, the expectation is that it takes some time to build those skills, and that my growth is going to look different than yours or Susie down the street, or whoever that might be. And because I'm dealing with my own background, my own baggage, my own story alongside learning these new skills. And so comparing myself to someone else is sort of futile, because there's no comparison. There's no one who's walked in my shoes. There's no one who has lived my life and is in this exact place at this exact time with these humans trying to do this with this job and this spouse and these neighbors, right? And so while I think that, there is a lot of commonality and we can find community among other mothers, there is an individuality about it that, and that can create some loneliness in that, maybe somebody doesn't understand what I'm going through. And so then how do you find those connectors, but not compare yourself to someone else's journey? Because literally everyone is walking their own story, their own journey. And there isn't a comparison.
And I think that's the difference between like finding a mentor or finding someone who is where you want to go. That's totally fine. That's not comparison. That's okay to be inspired and to be motivated to do it, but don't expect the same results.
Yes.
You're going to get your own results. They may be similar, but they're most likely going to be different, or the path to get there is going to be different.
Yeah.
And that's even true for our kids. I'm so glad somebody told me they're all going to be different, because I would think otherwise I was doing something wrong, because they are vastly different. And the way they developed was vastly different. Their personalities are different. And then I think I have them figured out, and they change. And so I could get really discouraged as a mom, because it'd be like, how do I do this? They don't come with a manual. Like, I have to be like, I can do this. I can figure this out. Yes. And I do that a lot by thinking, who is the parent I needed? What did I need as a kid? As much as I do that, that really kind of helps me get more in the framework. That helps me give them the I can do attitude. Am I building them up? Am I helping their self-esteem? Am I being a positive role model? And some of that too is like admitting when I make mistakes and just apologizing.
Totally. Yes.
Because they need to know they're human. As you spoke about, the more we can connect to our common humanity and realize we're more alike than we are different. You're not the first single mom, or you're not the first mom, or you're not the first mom of multiple, you're not the first one to face that challenge. It's not supposed to take away the significance of it, but it's supposed to help you understand that someone else got through this and you can get through this too. It's just a matter of putting the right tools in place and the right community around you to support you. And as a mom, you absolutely get to do that. As a mom, you absolutely have the right to do what works for you and for your family so that you can thrive. And it's an important role and part of our society to have these strong family units, whatever they may look like, and to have strong mothers.
Well, and I think it's okay for something to not work for your family that works for your neighbor's family, and really doing that work to figure out, what works with my personality as a mom might not work with. We do a lot of silliness in my family because that's what works for us. Partially in managing our own nervous systems, like staying in the silliness helps us. But I have a client who's like, that does not fit my personality. Like, that is not a thing that I would ever do. And I'm like, cool. What is the thing that you would do? Right. And so she's more of like the coaching mentality, and like, okay, I'm coaching my kids, I'm coaching myself. I'm kind of the coach leader type. And that's great. And that works for her.
Yeah. And allow yourself to explore without judgment. just enjoy the ability to get curious, to get
Mhm.
innovative, to try things. And then when
Mhm.
it feels like it aligns with you, then stick to it.
Yeah,
And that may evolve and change as kids get older too. I think in
totally.
child development, that's the thing I've noticed too is, what works for my 3-year-old definitely doesn't work for my 13-year-old and my 11-year-old even. So like I
Totally.
have to think about where they're at in their life and their development. And that helps
Yeah.
me too to take a step back and go, this is what I can do for them. This is what I
Mhm.
should not do for them that they need to do for themselves. But they are going to get through the stage. This is how
Mhm.
I set them up for success.
Mhm.
And so how do you do that with like your clients and the people that you work with to help them kind of be aware of honor where the person is in their journey and in their development?
As far as the kids go,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I do a lot of education about childhood development and kind of what is normal for different stages of
Mhm.
development. And then talking about, what is your kid like? What is their personality? And if it's different than the moms or the dads, depending on who I'm working with, then talking about like, do you have family members or do you have a friend who has a similar personality to your child? Can you pick their brain on who was the parent that they would have liked to have when they were young? What would they have liked to do or say or have permission to do or say when they were young, and kind of steal some of those. I think that's really important, especially when the big thing right now in parenting that I see is people wanting to take these scripts, and they're like, I used the script on my toddler and it didn't work. I'm like, same, girl,
Yeah.
same. I
Yeah.
did too. and and that's when I realized, like, no, it's not cookie cutter, right? we
Mhm.
can't we can't cookie cutter our parenting. We really have to get to know our child. We really have to get to know ourselves and
Mhm.
figure out what that match is. How do we match up between the two of us? And when you have multiple kids, it is more work. It is more of getting to know each child and what works for them. Um, and so, yeah, we do a lot of brainstorming. We do a lot of experiments, is what I call it. So, like you said, right, try things and don't judge yourself if it doesn't work. And don't judge your kid. There's nothing wrong with anyone. You're just trying to figure it out. And guess what? You're not supposed to know what to do. This is supposed to
Mhm.
be a learning curve. And so, you're not a bad mom because you haven't been able to figure this out yet. You're not a bad mom because it feels like it doesn't come naturally to connect with this kid. It just means you have a kid with a different personality than yours. And we've got to do a little bit of work, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with anyone.
Mm.
So
Yeah, and you're gonna be your own mom. Like, that's kind of what this
yeah.
podcast is about. Any
Yeah.
mom is welcome here, and we're wanting to add value to your life because motherhood is a sacred role, and
Yes.
that may look different for you. You might be a
Mhm.
foster mom, you might be an adoptive
Mhm.
mom, you might be a birth mom, you might be a mom of multiples, you might be a
Yeah.
mom who lost a child. You might
Yeah.
still want to be a mom or you're mothering other children. Like there's so
Mhm.
many different definitions of mother that if we could
Yes.
take the judgment and the comparison out and just support each
Mhm.
other in the fact that the sacred role is so important and we're
Yeah.
raising the next generation, that would be more empowering. And
Yeah.
that's the kind of I can do attitude I want to spread to through this podcast and to our families and to our
Totally.
society, that we are moving in a much more aware direction and we're
Mhm.
fighting more for our mental health now and our
Mhm.
physical health and our well-being more than anything. We have plenty of
Mhm.
resources. We're very blessed in some countries to have most of our basic needs met. So
Mhm.
now we have to level up how we're using them
Yeah.
to bless other people and to take care of ourselves and those
Yeah.
around us. And
Yeah.
so back to how you are teaching mothers to be aware of their body as it changes and to accept it and to love on that. How do we instill that in our kids? I think
Mhm.
there's a lot of pressure. We have childhood obesity put out there a lot,
Mhm.
and we have a lot of different new diseases and different things just because of the diet that's in our culture and available to us. And
Mhm.
we do what we can. But I
Mhm.
think there are some kids that definitely are going to have um, some struggles with weight versus
Sure.
others won't. I mean, I have my daughters have completely different body types,
Mhm.
and one needs to gain weight and one is like going through the puberty thing and like figuring
Sure.
out what her body is, and then their bodies are different than mine too. So like I
Mhm.
thought I would be able to kind of guide them, or like they'd want to wear my clothes or some different things. And like, it's not going that way at all. And so then I have a son, and I'm like, but he also needs positive body imaging. So like, how would you teach them to be aware of their body and speak that language, and give them some tools to have an I can do attitude with taking care of themselves?
Yeah, I do a lot of teaching kids early to be aware of their bodies if we can. So even things about, when they're having big tantrums, when they're having big feelings, part of the calm down process is find it in your body. Where do you feel it? How does your body feel? And even if they don't have the language for it, part of parenting is giving them that language, right? That's what you're talking about, is giving them the language. Okay, so does it feel tight? Does it feel warm? Is there a color that you could find, that you could identify with it? But also, instilling it's those beliefs too, the values about what our body is supposed to look like. And so when little kids are classic for commenting on things that are obvious to everyone, but we don't say out loud, right?
Right.
We have had lots of grocery store moments where I'm like, I want to crawl under the cart. And what I say is, all bodies are good. That is sort of our mantra, is that all bodies are good. All bodies are healthy at every size. And so teaching that body awareness, I think, starts early. But if you haven't done it, all is not lost. You can start now, right? You can start where your kids are at and telling them what you believe about bodies. If that is a negative belief, then looking at, where does your belief come from as a parent? What do you believe about your own body? Because a lot of times our kids are going to reflect, even if you've never said it out loud that you hate your body. Your kids pick up on it, right?
Right.
They're such little sponges for the things that we don't say. And so speaking out loud, even what we want to believe. So if you don't believe that all bodies are beautiful, but you want to believe it, start saying that out loud. And eventually your brain starts to change and your beliefs about your body start to change. And then you've passed that on to your kids too.
Yeah, we are definitely an example, whether we realize it or not. Something I know I'm highly aware of is I had eating disorders growing up because of the pressures that I felt, and some body dysmorphia because of it. And I do not want to pass that on to my girls. And I almost, at one point, lost the ability to have my period, which would have led to not being able to be the mother that I am today. And so there are some definite generational patterns that sometimes need to be broken and addressed. And you have to have that awareness within to change those things, but it's totally possible. And I love that you talked about that. And from our conversation today, I have this like fun idea. I just saw this video of this teacher who holds up a mirror to her kids as they come into the classroom, and it says, I am, and they have to fill in the statement. And then she revalidates whatever it is that they say, whether it's I'm strong or I'm a good athlete, but it has to be something positive. I'm thinking, after talking today, that I might put that on our door out to our garage on the way out, that we have to say something every day on the way out, because I feel like it's the repetition of these things that we're talking about. It's not going to be doing them once or twice. It's going to be making them a part of a daily habit in order to create that change or that new pathway in our brain or that new level of awareness. So you don't get this idea that you're going to go implement this in one day and see change. Like, or you're going to go try this on your kid once and it's going to work the first time. Like, you have to give things time. Like, I think habits 21 days to create. So it might take trying one thing for 21 days. Okay. All right. That didn't quite go the way I thought. Let's try this one. But I think it's also having that dialogue with our kids of letting them create options, especially as they get older and they want more agency, is to give them more ideas of, well, what do you want to eat? Or what do you want to create for dinner? Or what movement would you like to try? And letting them decide, because it can be hard not to put like your dreams on your kids, I think sometimes, or like, I was a gymnast, so one of my kids should be a gymnast, or like I did this, so they should do that. And I started my girls in dance and they really loved it, but one decided that wasn't her thing anymore. And I had to just kind of honor that. I mean, I was a little sad inside. So like, but like, it's like, okay, well, that's you, that's your body, and honoring that. And I think the earlier they have a voice to that and they learn to trust their intuition and their voice, the less they're going to hold things in their body, the less that they're going to have things to deal with later, because I've already given them the room to live authentically and in their flow and not let things get in the way, and voice it too. I think it's important that they know how to voice respectively. That doesn't work for me. We just found out my oldest daughter, who's been having some issues and we couldn't quite figure it out. She actually has scoliosis. We're like, how in the world did we not find that till she's 13?
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, we should have caught this earlier, kind of thing. But now I'm like connecting the dots of all these times I was a little hard on her about some things. And I'm like, oh man. So, and it was so funny when we found out, because I have some back issues, but they're different issues where I have to keep my core strong or I'll get a swayed back. So I know a little bit, but I don't know scoliosis. So now I'm the mom who wants to go research it all and find out everything about it. And let's fix it. We're going to do this. We're going to do this.
Totally.
But she's old enough where it's like, okay, we're going to go with physical therapy. We're going to see what they say. And I have to get it can't just be my voice.
Yeah.
Partially because mom's not cool, like right now. Not at all. Also, just because she wants facts. She's very logical. Yeah. And I have to honor that she wants the agency to take that information to decide how she's going to implement it and do it in her life. And I'm glad she has that voice so strongly. Sometimes I appreciate it more than other times, but she's developing as an individual, and she's owning her body and what she wants to do with it. And I think that's going to be such a strength moving forward in her life, in her relationships, and
absolutely
all the things that she does. And that's the kind of I can do attitude that I want her to have. Not just I can do things, but I can honor myself, and I can stand in my truth, and I can keep boundaries around it as well.
That's right. Yes, absolutely. That's wonderful.
Any last thoughts or stories about clients of I can do attitude that could be inspirational or serve our audience today?
I have a client who is very motivated to change. And she came and she said, I need to change how I talk to my kids and my spouse. And she said, I've literally been this way my whole life. I talked to my sister and she told me that I couldn't do it. And so I want to see if what you have to offer, could help me. And I was like, great, a challenge. And, we worked together for maybe 10 weeks, and we came up with a plan, and she did the work. She implemented that plan. She worked really hard every single day to do those things. And at the end of the 10 weeks, she's like, I think that something is changing. My husband has noticed. My kids are noticing. I feel proud of myself. And so I think the thing that I would like to leave with listeners is pick something, make a goal, and make it small so that you can see that one change. And then that change can build on the next ones. It can be the foundation. I think a lot of times with change and, I can do these things, we give ourselves a list of 45 things that we can change, when really, if we just pick one thing and focus on that for a period of time, whether that's short or long, that will create the most sustainable change. That is the can-do thing that you can do right now, because the 45 things are too many. It's too many things. So pick one thing, work on it really hard every single day for 10 weeks, for 4 weeks, and monitor your change. Talk to your loved ones, see how you're coming along with that after that period of time.
Coming from the coaching realm, you made me think of, I've had the privilege of hearing Ed Milet speak in person. He's the number one life coach in the nation and, or in the world, I believe, actually. And his speech was so powerful. It brought me to tears, but his book, One More, is all about that. It's one habit at a time. And they're simple things. Like they're things you can do, and it builds the confidence for you to go for the next thing. And just simple things like drink a gallon of water every day. You have complete control of that. Pick the things you can to set yourself up for success for, and then you build that muscle to go to one more, to do one more rep at the gym, do one more thing. And if we can teach our kids that too, life becomes less overwhelming. I think especially as they go into adulthood and the teenage years, there's so many massive changes for them that it's better that they know you can just take it one day at a time, or one step at a time. Yeah. Otherwise it's easy to really shut down because it's just too much, and it can be too much. And you might notice you have a kid that, maybe all of a sudden has ADD or is showing signs of autism or showing some signs of mental disturbance or something when those hormones come up, or somewhere along the way, there's something that's off. And then it's even more important to go back to the basics and reiterate how valuable they are for who they are and what they do have power of and what they don't. Because we all have life that brings us challenges. Challenges are going to come one way or another in life. And that's where we have to build the resilience, but it can still be one step at a time. And there's nothing that comes in our path that we can't be successful. There are people that are successful that deal with all sorts of physical, emotional, mental, and traumatic challenges, and they overcome them. And so that's the resilient I can do attitude that I want to spread for moms and for children and for the next generation. Like, we face a lot of massive change in this world today, and it can be very overwhelming. But if you can come back home to yourself and basic principles that lay a foundation one step at a time, that make you strong enough to stay in your truth and honor your truth in your body, then you'll be able to move in the direction towards the success that you want to see in your life.
Amen.
Well, thank you so much for being here. If people want to work with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram or TikTok. It's Tiff Holy Living on Instagram, and Tiffany Holy Living CC on TikTok. I post lots of free videos there. I've also got some freebies for folks on the journey to figure out their body and start that body awareness. I have some freebies for that. So yeah, all of that. And then all of that is on my website at tiffanydomokos.com.
Awesome. And if you're looking for transformation, that's more the direction I'm going now. I'm really looking at helping women overcome narcissistic abuse and transform their lives to get back in tune with their truth and live and thrive resiliently. You can find me at the link below and the other information. If you'd like to be a guest on the Resilient Mother podcast, also reach out to me. I'm always scheduling people as we keep moving forward every Tuesday at 6 p.m. We're adding more value to support mothers so that they can have the life that they want and enjoy their sacred role as mother. All right. We believe in you, believe in yourself. God bless. And we'll see you during the next episode of the Resilient Mother podcast. Hi, it's Tiffany Lorraine Galloway, certified